Hey everybody, welcome back. It's me, lukemick here, and it's that time of year again. This is my top 10 movies of the year 2013. So 2013 was a pretty kick-ass year for movies. It did have some doozies here and there. I will be doing a top 10 worst of the year, but for right now, you guys can sit back and enjoy some of the best movies, in my opinion, to come out in the year 2013. I did see a lot this year. It was probably the hardest top 10 movie list I've ever had to make. I saw about 120 movies in theaters this year, and breaking them all down was very difficult for me to do. But I think I got a pretty solid list that I hope you guys will kind of enjoy and agree with. But I don't know, we'll see. Everyone has their own opinion, and I will say that there were quite a few movies that I really wanted to see that I missed out on, such as Blue is the Warmest Color, Her, Inside Llewyn Davis, Nebraska. Lots of movies that I really wanted to see but I missed out on. So if you don't see those on the list, then it's because I haven't seen them yet. So let's move on. We're going to talk about some honorable mentions real quick. So my honorable mentions are Fruitvale Station, Rush, Philomena, About Time, and American Hustle. Those are the movies that just didn't make the cut, but I think they're worth mentioning because I really enjoyed them this year, and I definitely recommend you guys checking them out. So, moving on to the top 10 movies, in my opinion, of the year 2013. In the number 10 place, we have Evil Dead, which is right up here. Steelbook and everything. A lot of people, I don't know what a lot of people actually thought about the Evil Dead movie. I was really excited for it. I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise. I mean, Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi. I thought the originals were just awesome horror movies. Definitely one of my favorites. And going into the new Evil Dead, I knew a lot about it. I knew they were using a lot of practical effects. I kind of knew that they were mixing it up a bit. I liked the trailer a lot. And I pretty much got what I expected. It was just a really gory, really fun time, and I thought the story was pretty good. They changed it up enough to make it, a little different from the original, but still keeping the Evil Dead formula. And I just thought it was a really fun horror movie, probably the best one of the year. Some people didn't like it, but I personally thought it was very kind of nostalgic, and I loved Evil Dead. At number 9, we have Out of the Furnace, and this is kind of another movie that I don't really know what people thought of. I mean, I know what they thought. A lot of people didn't like it. Some people did like it. It was just really split. And I actually thought Out of the Furnace was a very good movie. I mean, Christian Bale, I felt like I really connected to him as a character. Everything that was happening to him was just so sad and depressing, and I really felt bad for him. And I thought it was just directed flawlessly by Scott Cooper. I mean, there were some really cool parts in that movie, and Casey Affleck was amazing. I just thought all the performances in Out of the Furnace were really good, and I thought it was just such a believable and engaging world. Out of the Furnace was really good, and I don't know why people didn't like it. In my number 8 spot, I saw this movie towards the beginning of the year, in May, actually, and that is Star Trek Into Darkness. Star Trek Into Darkness was a sequel that I was really looking forward to. I think the Star Trek reboot from 2009, it was a fantastic movie. I'd never really watched any of the older shows or anything. It was my first experience with Star Trek, and I thought it was awesome. J.J. Abrams did a fantastic job directing the first one. So going into the second one, I was really excited, and I thought it was just an awesome movie. It was just non-stop, not action, but there was just always something happening. The movie went by so fast for me. It's about 2 hours and 10 minutes long, but it felt like an hour and a half. I mean, it was such a good movie, and all the visuals were amazing, as always, with Star Trek. It's just such a nice-looking movie, and it's great looking on Blu-ray, too. So Star Trek Into Darkness, number 8. In the number 7 spot, this is the movie that I've probably seen the most this year, and that is This Is the End. I thought This Is the End was a hilarious movie. I love Seth Rogen and crew. James Franco was funny in this movie. Jay Baruchel. I mean, everybody was just hilarious in this movie. I thought it was a really clever idea, using them as real people, like not as actors, like they're playing themselves, pretty much themselves, and the world is ending and everything. I thought it was a really funny movie. It made for some really funny moments, with the whole world ending situation. I thought it was great, and had some pretty nice visuals too, some good CGI, which was kind of weird. It was actually a pretty good sci-fi thriller as well, horror movie. So yeah, This Is the End, hilarious. If you guys haven't seen it yet, check it out, especially if you like Seth Rogen and company. At number 6, we have a movie that's also very similar to This Is the End, and that is The World's End, directed by Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is probably one of my favorite directors of all time. I just love his style. All of his movies, they're just packed with so much energy. The camera's always moving about. He has those quick shots, all the quick editing. I just love Edgar Wright as a director. I mean, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz are some of my favorite movies of all time, along with Scott Pilgrim. And now, The World's End is the final part of the Cornetto trilogy, along with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz was. And I thought this movie was so funny. I saw it in theaters, obviously, with a friend of mine, and we were laughing the whole time. The World's End is a great movie. It makes sense. It's a great way to end the Cornetto trilogy, and it's really kind of sad because I truly love these guys, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright, and it's sad that it's all coming to an end, but I thought it was a great closure. In my number 5 spot, this is a movie that, I thought would be a lot higher on my list when I saw it. For a while, I was thinking, this is probably my favorite movie of the year, but it went down just a little bit, but it's still an awesome movie, and that is Prisoners with Hugh Jackman. Prisoners was such a dark and depressing movie, and I really believed all the performances from Hugh Jackman, Terrence Howard, Paul Dano, who else was in that movie? There were a lot of people in that movie, and all the performances all around were just amazing. It just had this really dark and depressing tone with the cinematography and the directing, and it was such a crazy story, and Jake Gyllenhaal was in the movie. I should have mentioned that. I don't know how I forgot Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like the main character. It reminded me a lot of Zodiac. It had Jake Gyllenhaal kind of playing this detective character, and it was just really depressing and dark story. I don't know. Prisoners was very good, a very engaging movie, and I definitely recommend it if you haven't seen it yet. So, Prisoners, number 5. At number 4, we have a movie that I went into without really knowing anything about. I knew that it was directed by Woody Allen and it starred Cate Blanchett, but that's all I really knew. And that movie is Blue Jasmine. Blue Jasmine really impressed me. The characters and the story, it all felt so real to me. Like, I really... It's not that I really cared for the characters a lot. I mean, the particular ones I did, but I just thought it was all so believable and just so subtle. I really liked Blue Jasmine. It was directed very well by Woody Allen. All the performances were really good. I'm really hoping to see some Oscar nominations for some of the performances in this movie. It was funny at times. It was sort of depressing at times. It was a lot of everything. Blue Jasmine was a really surprising movie for me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys too if you check it out. At number 3, we have a movie that a lot of people have been raving about, and I think it deserves all the praise that it has been getting. That is 12 Years a Slave. 12 Years a Slave was such again, a depressing movie. Maybe 2013 was just a depressing year, but I thought this movie was just so perfect. I mean, what's his name? Michael Fassbender, how did I forget his name, was just so brutal in this movie. I didn't even recognize him in the role of the slave owner, and Chiwetel Ejiofor, which I hope I pronounce his name right, as, I don't remember his name. I know that his slave name was Platt. He was very good in the movie as well. I mean, everything in this movie just felt so real, and it was based on a true story, which I thought was just amazing. And it's a movie, it's a biopic, and it's about 2.5 hours long, and it never had me bored. I thought it was such an interesting story, and it felt so real. A lot of these movies this year are really intense movies. 12 Years a Slave is definitely one of the best movies to come out this year, and if it gets an Oscar nomination and a win for Best Picture, then I'll be totally happy with that, because it was really, really good. And my number 2 spot is a movie that actually almost did not come out this year. It got delayed. It was supposed to come out in November, but it ended up coming out on Christmas Day, and that is The Wolf of Wall Street. The Wolf of Wall Street was such a great movie. It was always moving. Even though it is 3 hours long, there was always something fun happening on screen. I mean, the story was interesting. It is based off a true story. It's based off a book. It's just amazing. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio was great in the movie. Jonah Hill is really making a name for himself out there. He was really good. Matthew McConaughey. Everybody in this movie, they all were like just full of energy. It was crazy. And it's seriously one of the funniest movies I had seen all year. I was laughing pretty consistently for the full 3 hours. So The Wolf of Wall Street is a really good movie. It's been receiving some mixed things, but I really liked it a lot. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out, and that is my number 2. Alright guys, before I tell you what my number 1 is, we're just going to run through the 9 that I've already mentioned. Number 10 was Evil Dead. Number 9 was Out of the Furnace. Number 8 was Star Trek Into Darkness. Number 7 was This Is the End. Number 6 was The World's End. Number 5 was Prisoners. Number 4 was Blue Jasmine. Number 3 was 12 Years a Slave. And number 2 was The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, my number 1 movie of the year is The Place Beyond the Pines. The Place Beyond the Pines was a movie that I was really excited for, and it kind of took a while for it to come to a theater near me, but when it did, I was so ready to go. A bunch of friends and I went, and it's my favorite movie of the year, and I'll tell you why. It's unpredictable. the story is not linear at all. It spans over about 15 years, and things that you wouldn't expect to happen just happen in this movie. It's just very unpredictable, and that's what I loved about it so much. You know, it wasn't your typical cliched drama thriller. It was something different that I actually hadn't seen before. And the performances obviously were amazing. I mean, Ryan Gosling is one of my favorite actors. He was in the movie, and he's always great. I mean, obviously. Bradley Cooper, very good. Ava Mendes, very good. And Dane DeHaan, kind of a newcomer. He was in Chronicle. He's really making a name for himself. He was great in the movie as well. The story just got me. You know, the way everything fit together at the end of that movie, I thought was so perfect. The whole journey through it was amazing. I just love the way that they set the movie up into 3 separate acts. Don't want to ruin anything if you haven't seen it, but The Place Beyond the Pines is definitely my favorite movie of the year, without a doubt. So guys, this is lukemick signing off. Please subscribe. If you guys want to, feel free to leave your top 10 list in the comments box or send me a video response or something, because I'd love to see what you guys think. Anyways, I'll talk to you later.